Italy, the land of legendary defenders, tactical masterminds, and World Cup glory. For decades, Italian football stood as a pillar of the beautiful game, a place where history and excellence collided on the grandest stages. From AC Milan's dominance in Europe to Juventus's stranglehold on Serie A, Italy's influence on football was undeniable. But then, it all came crashing down. A scandal so massive, so devastating, that it shook Italian football to its core. Clubs were torn apart, reputations were shattered, and trust in the system was permanently destroyed. This wasn't just a scandal, it was the death of an empire. And to this day, Italian football has never truly recovered. What happened? And why does this dark chapter still haunt the sport? This is the story of the scandal that killed Italian football forever. Calciopoli, the earthquake that shook Serie A. The year was 2006, and Italian football was at its peak. The national team had just lifted the World Cup. Clubs like AC Milan and Juventus were powerhouses in Europe, and Serie A was home to some of the best players in the world. But behind the scenes, corruption was festering. A shocking investigation uncovered a deep-rooted conspiracy. Club executives, referees, and league officials were engaged in match-fixing, manipulating results, and ensuring that certain teams, especially Juventus, maintained dominance. It was a scandal that exposed the dark underbelly of Italian football, proving that the game was not won on the pitch, but in secret meetings and backroom deals. The revelations hit like a bombshell. The league's credibility was destroyed, and Italian football would never be the same again. The punishments giants brought to their knees. Once the truth was out, the fallout was catastrophic. Juventus, the biggest club involved, was stripped of 2 league titles and relegated to Serie B, an unthinkable punishment for one of the most dominant teams in football history. Other clubs like AC Milan, Fiorentina, and Lazio also faced heavy penalties, including massive points deductions, fines, and suspensions for key officials. Some believed the punishments weren't harsh enough, while others argued that they were too severe. But one thing was certain: Italian football would never be the same again. The betrayal, how fans lost faith in Serie A. For the millions of passionate Italian football fans, Calciopoli was more than just a scandal. It was a betrayal. These were clubs with deep histories, supported by generations of loyal followers, only to be exposed as frauds manipulating the game for their own benefit. Fans were left disillusioned. Attendance numbers plummeted, TV ratings declined, and the once great atmosphere of Serie A stadiums faded. Serie A went from being one of the most respected leagues in the world to a competition drowning in disgrace. And for many fans, the magic was gone forever. The financial collapse, the domino effect. With scandal came financial disaster. Serie A clubs were already struggling with mismanagement, and after Calciopoli, things only got worse. Sponsors pulled out, TV networks hesitated to invest, and Italy's clubs found themselves in serious trouble. Once the home of football's biggest stars, Italy could no longer attract top-tier talent. Clubs were forced to sell their best players just to survive, and the league slowly lost its status as Europe's elite destination. Money dried up, and with it, the ability to compete at the highest level. Serie A had once been the place for the world's best players. Now, it was a shadow of its former self. The exodus, Italy's best players and coaches flee. Before Calciopoli, Serie A was the place to be. The world's best players and coaches dreamed of playing in Italy. Top stars like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Kaká, and Andrea Pirlo either left or considered leaving, knowing that Italian football was no longer a stable environment. Legendary managers like Carlo Ancelotti and Antonio Conte moved abroad, taking their tactical genius to clubs in Spain, England, and France. Even young Italian talents started looking outside their home country, realizing that Serie A no longer offered the same prestige or opportunities. The league became weaker, not because of a lack of talent, but because no one wanted to be part of a corrupt and crumbling system. The rise of the Premier League, Serie A left behind. While Italian football was drowning in scandal, English football was rising to global dominance. The Premier League took advantage of Italy's downfall, attracting the best players, managers, and sponsorship deals. With massive TV contracts and smart marketing, the Premier League became the new home of elite football. Meanwhile, Serie A struggled to keep up, locked in a cycle of financial struggles and diminishing global appeal. At one point, Serie A was bigger than the Premier League, but after Calciopoli, the roles reversed. Italian football was no longer the leader, was playing catch-up. The failed comeback, why Italian football never recovered. Over the years, Serie A has tried to restore its reputation. Clubs like Juventus, Inter Milan, and AC Milan have had moments of resurgence. But the reality is, Italian football has never truly recovered from the damage done by Calciopoli. The league still struggles with outdated stadiums, financial instability, and a lack of global branding. Even when an Italian team succeeds in Europe, like Inter's Champions League final run in 2023, it feels like an exception rather than a revival. Serie A might still exist, but its golden era is long gone, and for many it will never return. The media's role, how the truth came to light. Calciopoli didn't unravel overnight. It was investigative journalism and wiretapped phone calls that exposed the shocking truth. Italian newspapers, particularly La Gazzetta dello Sport and Corriere della Sera, played a major role in uncovering the corruption that had been poisoning Serie A for years. Journalists obtained leaked phone conversations between top club executives and referee officials, revealing how matches were being influenced behind the scenes. The media coverage sent shockwaves through the country. Fans who had once celebrated victories now questioned if those triumphs were ever legitimate. However, the media wasn't just exposing corruption. It also played a role in shaping public perception. Some outlets sensationalized the scandal, while others accused the Italian Football Federation of targeting certain clubs unfairly. The controversy became as much about justice as it was about narratives, dividing fans and creating long-lasting tensions in Italian football. The Juventus redemption story, rising from the ashes. No club suffered more from Calciopoli than Juventus. Once the undisputed kings of Italy, they found themselves relegated to Serie B, their titles stripped and their reputation in ruins. Many of their star players, including Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Fabio Cannavaro, abandoned the club. Juventus was left humiliated, broken, and forced to rebuild from scratch. But the story didn't end there. Rather than collapse, Juventus fought back. With legends like Alessandro Del Piero and Gianluigi Buffon staying loyal, they dominated Serie B, earned promotion back to Serie A, and over the next decade completely rebuilt their empire. By the 2010s, Juventus had reclaimed their throne, winning 9 consecutive Serie A titles and making multiple Champions League final appearances. However, the shadow of Calciopoli never fully disappeared. Many still question whether Juventus should be considered a clean club, and their recent financial scandals, such as the 2023 points deduction for financial irregularities, have reignited debates about whether Italian football ever truly changed. Calciopoli didn't just hurt Italian football, it killed it. The league went from being the pinnacle of European football to a competition desperately trying to stay relevant. Trust was shattered, clubs collapsed, and Serie A fell behind in the race for football dominance. Even today, the wounds of Calciopoli remain fresh, and the world is left wondering, what could have been if Italian football had never been corrupted? The fall of Serie A serves as a warning, a reminder that when greed and corruption take over, even the greatest empires can crumble. Italian football may still be alive, but its soul, that was lost forever. If you found this deep dive into Calciopoli and Italian football's downfall interesting, smash that like button. It helps us bring more in-depth football stories to you. Do you think Italian football will ever return to its former glory? Or is the damage permanent? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video on football's biggest scandals, stories, and secrets. Share this video with fellow football fans because the past always shapes the future, and history should never be forgotten.